Bonjour micro. Merci.
Check. Lucas, est-ce que tu peux appeler l'STC de venir voir les pupitres qui ne montent et ne descendent pas? Peut-être c'est juste un truc électrique, mais il faut que quelqu'un vienne vraiment tout de suite, s'il te plaît. Merci.
Sur Internet, c'est...
Dis-moi.
Est-ce que tu sais, c'est...
Bonjour, bonjour, la présidence du Parlement européen. 1, 2, 3. Test pour la Digicom. Ça va, ça marche. J'espère bien que oui. Et on est là. Ah, merci pour l'image, pour le retour d'image. Voilà.
C'est bon.
Ah, il y a pas mal de retard. Hein? 3 secondes minimum. OK. Pas grave. Les Lutra maintenant, le speaker. Je n'ai pas de retour vidéo. J'espère que tout ça va bien. Tutto bene?
Tutto bene.
Perfetto, on rentre.
Test 1, 2, test.
Aspetta una richiesta. Ok, merci, grazie.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning to you all. The sitting is open. One announcement from my end. Milan Mazurek is a member of the ESN group as of the 22nd of January 2025. Next item on the agenda is European Council and Commission statements, conclusions of the European Council meeting of 19 December 2024. By way of reminder, after the first round of speakers on behalf of the groups, members who have received speaking time from their political groups or non-attached secretariat will be called to speak and will be reminded of their allotted speaking time. This means that I ask you to keep an eye on the screens where the current speaker and the next two speakers will be displayed, and then you will be called to come up to the lectern. And the normal rules regarding blue cards and catch-the-eye procedure will apply during the debate. Now I have the pleasure to invite the President of the European Council for the first time in his office to address us in this Parliament on the conclusions of last meeting of 19 December. Antonio, the floor is yours.
Good morning, Madam President, Madam the President of the European Commission, dear Minister Schwabka, honourable members. In my first speech in the European Parliament as President of the European Council, I would like to address my greetings to all you in this House, elected by the European citizens. I am looking forward to our close cooperation, to the debates and to the exchanges with you. To the debates after European Councils, to exchanges with President Metsola and the political group leaders in the Conference of Presidents, because only together can we address the biggest challenges Europe is facing. It was that sense of unity that presided over the first European Council I shared in December. I took away three main messages from that meeting. First, on Ukraine. The message was clear. The European Union reaffirmed its support to Ukraine for as long as necessary and at whatever it takes for a comprehensive, just and lasting peace. This is the message that we conveyed to President Zelensky, who joined us for an important exchange. We pledge to strengthen Ukraine's position for every scenario. Peace must be the peace chosen by Ukraine and by the Ukrainians, for the sake of Ukrainian security, for the sake of Europe's security. Second, on enlargement. We are fully committed to enlargement as the biggest geopolitical investment for peace and security for our people and our continent. This is also a central topic in the Western Balkans Summit I chaired the day before the European Council. The 6 Western Balkan countries, Ukraine and Moldova, are working hard to deliver on their commitments. There is no doubt that the future of these countries is in our Union. It is time for us to deliver on our promises as they deliver on theirs. Thirdly, the European Council had a strategic discussion on Europe's role in the world. We need to renew our relations with the United Kingdom and work for a stronger transatlantic relationship rooted in our common history and deep bonds with the United States and Canada, a partnership that has underpinned peace and economic growth for decades, based on our shared values and common interests. The European Union and the United States are each other's largest trading and investment partners. It is in the interest of both to keep fostering a stable, balanced, and predictable trade relationship. We are looking forward to working closely with the new US administration to advance a positive and fair economic cooperation and to work on our shared priorities for prosperity and security while naturally protecting our own interests. The world today is multipolar, and it opens new opportunities for Europe. The European Union needs to strengthen its bilateral and multilateral relationships with third countries based on common interest, mutual prosperity, and shared priorities like climate action, sustainable development, or poverty and disease reduction. Because the world is multipolar, expressions such global south and global north makes no sense. It is, in fact, a plural world which requires tailored approaches and even more energy in our engagement. Therefore, I look forward to the upcoming summits during the current semester with South Africa, Central Asia, Brazil, and Japan, and also to the visit from the European Council to India, to advance on those challenges collectively and more effectively. Honourable members, the European Union is a pillar of the international rules-based order, upholding the principles of sovereignty, territorial integrity, and inviolability of borders, continuing to support an inclusive and multilateral system under the principles of the United Nations Charter and international law. We, EU, remain committed to all our international engagement, to a comprehensive agenda to tackle climate change, inequality, and the reform of global financial institutions. We remain committed to the Sustainable Development Goals, the Pact for the Future, and the Paris Agreement. Our Union is a project for peace that has been stable for decades because we value our alliance, our economic interdependency, our integrated societies. But to preserve peace, we need to assume greater responsibility for our own defense, our strategic autonomy, our sovereignty. This is why, since 2014, and especially after 2022, the Member States have been increasing their budgets on defense. Today, the 23 Member States that are also NATO allies, all together, are expected to be spending above 2% for defense investment. We have also taken major efforts together during the last years. We are implementing with determination the strategic compass. We fully use the new tools we have to ramp up to our ammunition production and to acquire the most urgent and critical defense products. The Commission has also already put forward a defense industrial program, and the European Investment Bank is updated its policy on supporting dual-use technology. There is an overall sense of urgency and a strategic purpose among us. We are on the right track to build the Europe of defense. That sense of urgency and purpose has led me to invite European leaders for an informal meeting on defense on the 3rd of February. This is the very first time the European leaders will get together in a meeting exclusively dedicated to defense, to prepare the ground for the next decisions we will have to take and to provide political guidance for the White Paper on Defence being prepared by the European Commission and the High Representative. NATO Secretary-General Mark Rutte and British Prime Minister Keir Starmer will join us for parts of our discussions because Russia's aggression in Ukraine and our resilience from hybrid attacks are shared priorities. It is in our interest to do more in the field of defence, to become more resilient, more efficient, more autonomous, and a more reliable security and defence actor. This way, the European Union will also become a stronger transatlantic partner, including in the context of NATO. Honourable members, the European Union is also an economic and trade power. Yes, there are important challenges to our competitiveness, but Europe is home to world-class research and industry and high-skilled workers, critical for our economic growth, strength in the years ahead. We owe the future generations the ambition to build a strong and vibrant Europe that brings shared prosperity for all and ensures a just and inclusive climate and digital transitions. The European Council in March will turn to economy, energy and competitiveness. We made it clear in the Budapest Declaration that we all agree with the analysis to Enrico Letta and Mario Draghi, and we must now decide on the right policies and deliver. I'm looking forward to the Commission's proposals on competitiveness compass, the clean industrial deal, and bureaucracy reduction. I will work closely with President von der Leyen to advance on these fronts. Finally, defence and competitiveness go hand in hand. Investing in defence in the integrated way while building a safe European supply chains network, energy autonomy and an innovative industry can boost our economies and job creation, as well as adopting a modern and reinforced European Union budget that is up to the challenges Europe is facing. A budget that invests in our collective security. A budget that fosters competitiveness and innovation and promotes a twin transition that works for citizens and businesses, leaving no one behind, no region forgotten, no problem without solution. Unity is the core element of our union. United, we are stronger, and stronger, we are greater. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, President Costa. I give the floor now to the President of the Commission, Ursula von der Leyen.
Thank you, President Metsola Di Roberta, Mr. President of the European Council, Di Antonio, honourable members. It's a pleasure to join this plenary debate with President Costa for the first time. And I would like to start by thanking you, dear Antonio, for the excellent cooperation between us in the first weeks of our common mandate. We're only 3 weeks into 2025, but the glimpse is already there into the change that is coming to global politics. We have entered a new era of harsh geostrategic competition. We're dealing with continent-sized powers, and they engage with each other based mostly on interests. This new dynamic will dominate more and more the relations between global actors. The rules of engagement are changing. Some in Europe may not like this new reality, but we must deal with it. Our values do not change. But to defend them, some things must change. First of all, we have work to do here at home. If we want to protect our interests and uphold our values, we must also be economically strong. And Europe has, as you said, Antonio, all the instruments for successfully playing its role in a concert of powers. We have a private sector with a long innovation tradition. We have a top-class workforce, highly educated. We have a unique social infrastructure to protect people from the great risks of life. And we have a huge single market of 450 million people. And that is our safe harbor in rough waters and our strongest leverage in tough negotiations. But our union and our single market do need attention and care. For us Europeans, the global race begins at home. And this is exactly what we've been discussing in the European Council. And all member states agree on that. It is the core of the Budapest Declaration on Competitiveness that we agreed during the Hungarian presidency. And now, under the Polish presidency, this consensus must be implemented. And that is why next week we will present our new competitiveness compass, which turns the excellent Draghi report into action. It will be the North Star of this new Commission and drive our work for the next 5 years. We're setting 3 goals. First, closing the innovation gap with our competitors. Second, we need a joint roadmap for decarbonization and competitiveness. And third, strengthening our economic resilience and security. And let me give you a few insights on each. On innovation, Draghi's analysis is very clear. There is a vicious cycle of low investment and low innovation. And this has led, for instance, to a slower uptake of digital technologies here in Europe. So how do we break this cycle? Public investment must definitely play a role. For this to be effective, the coordination between the European level and the member states needs to improve. In particular, in a few strategic areas where we really have to focus on. For example, AI, or quantum, or biotechnologies, just to name a few, but we have to focus on that. We have to invest there. Member states have to chip in. But we all know that public funding can never be sufficient. So to boost innovation at the right scale and speed, private capital has also to come in. The good news is that European companies are already ramping up their investments in innovation. Last year, Europe's industry increased its R&D investment by almost 10%. And for the first time now in 10 years, that is more than both in the United States and China. But we have to catch up a lot. So thanks to these efforts, we're now back in second position globally in terms of total private R&D investment. But again, we must coordinate, we must concentrate, and we must focus on the crucial areas. For that to happen and to be successful, we need a conducive capital market for our companies and specifically for our startups. And to support this, We will be launching a European Savings and Investment Union. We will create new European saving and investment products, new incentives for risk capital, and a new push to ensure the seamless flow of investment across our union. We must mobilize more capital to let Made in Europe and risk-taking innovation thrive here. My second point, I would like to focus on the issue of energy prices. Energy prices in Europe are still structurally higher than in the United States and in China, and they vary significantly within the European Union. So we must bring them down while we complete the phase out of Russian fossil fuels. So both objectives are important, and they should go hand in hand. How can we achieve this? Not only must we continue to diversify our energy supplies, which we've done over the last 2 years, we will also have to invest in next-generation clean energy technologies, because this is energy made in Europe, so it gives us independence. Take the topics of fusion, for example, or enhanced geothermal, or solid-state batteries, just to name a few. We must also mobilize here more private capital to modernize our grids and storage infrastructure, so again, the topic of a deep and liquid capital market. We must remove any remaining barriers to our energy union, and we must better connect our clean and low-carbon energy systems. All of this and much more, of course, than I mentioned today, will be part of a new affordable energy plan that we will present in February. My third and final point is how to bolster our economic resilience and security. Global powers are now vying for access to raw materials and vital supply chains. In the last years, we have concluded more than 35 new agreements with partners across the world, precisely to ensure our access to raw materials and hydrogen, for example, and to diversify some of our clean tech supply chains. This work will be even more crucial in the years ahead. As you know, since the start of this mandate, in less than 2 months, we have already concluded 3 partnership agreements with Mercosur, Mexico, and Switzerland. And last Monday, we relaunched our negotiations with Malaysia. These partnerships address some of our key economic interests. They open new and dynamic markets for us. They protect our distinctive products with the geographical indications and key sectors like agriculture. And they guarantee our access to critical minerals and clean energy. So widening our network of partnerships was a crucial recommendation of the Draghi report, and we work with Parliament and Council to move these deals forward. This new engagement with countries across the world is not only an economic necessity, but it has to be a message to the world. It is Europe's response to rising global competition. We want more cooperation with all who are open for it. And this, of course, includes our closest partners. I think, of course, of the United States of America. No other economies in the world are as integrated as Europe and the United States. Millions of jobs on both sides of the Atlantic depend on our trade and investment. The trade volume between us is 1.5 trillion euros. But beyond these numbers is also so much more: friendship, family ties, common history, culture. This is something we will always keep in mind as we engage with the new American administration. Our first priority will be engage early, discuss common interests, and be ready to negotiate. And when the time to negotiation comes, we will be pragmatic in seeking common ground. But I also want you to know that we will always stand by our European principles. Thank you, and long live Europe.
Thank you very much. President von der Leyen, now for the EPP Group, Jeroen Lenners, 2.5 minutes.
Yes, thank you, President, dear President von der Leyen, President Costa. Welcome, President Costa, for your first appearance here as President of the European Council. Congratulations on your first EU summit and on the 50th anniversary of the first meeting of the European Council. There is an impressive history there, but now more than ever, we need to focus on the future. And thank you for being with us today. It's unfortunately not what we were used to in the last months of your predecessor, and we count on you to continue coming here regularly for exchanges with the elected representatives of Europe. This is an important part of our democracy. Looking back at the European Council summit in December, I must admit, it already feels like a lifetime ago. The world looks different. The EPP welcomes the ceasefire in Gaza and the progress it represents for the release of the hostages and for addressing the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. It's a significant step to end the immense suffering on both sides, and we call on all parties to fully commit to their obligations. On Ukraine, there is less reason for optimism. President Trump, unfortunately, has not kept his campaign promise to end the war within 24 hours. The fighting, dying, and destruction continues also today. The European Council confirmed its unwavering commitment to support Ukraine, and of course, we welcome and support that. But I also listened very carefully to President Zelensky yesterday, asking Europe to step up and learn how to take care of itself so the world cannot ignore it. He even posed the question openly whether Europe will even have a seat at the table when the war against Ukraine ends. Now, I don't have to explain here how crucial it is that Europe is sitting at that table. When it's about the future of our own continent, we must be there. And I'm looking at the European Council to indeed step up and provide an answer to these strategic questions with more ambition. With the inauguration of President Trump, we have also entered a new phase of geopolitics. Yes, the US remains an important partner and an ally, but it's clear that under the new administration, Europe is also a target. Another wake-up call that now more than ever, we need to ensure our own strategic independence. We need to bring back competitiveness to Europe and reduce red tape and unnecessary regulatory burden. Make sure our SMEs and industries can flourish regardless of what happens at the world stage. We cannot simply continue business as usual. We need to step up our efforts in the fight against illegal migration and protect ourselves against the weaponization of migrants by dictators at our external borders. And we need to make sure that Europe can defend itself. We need a proper and ambitious European security and defence policy that really prepares Europe for any future challenges. Those future challenges are manifold, and we count on the leaders of Europe to step up their ambition. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lenas. And now I give the floor to the President of the S&D Group, Irache Garcia Perez, 4.5 minutes.
Gracias, Presidenta. Bienvenido al Parlamento, señor Costa. Es un honor darle hoy la bienvenida en su primera comparecencia ante esta Cámara como presidente del Consejo Europeo. Su presencia aquí simboliza su compromiso con el proyecto de integración europeo, un proyecto que siempre ha defendido con pasión, con convicción y con resultados, y su liderazgo será crucial en un momento en el que necesitamos más que nunca unidad, determinación y visión. Señorías, este Parlamento es el corazón de la democracia europea y no podemos ignorar que nuestra democracia está bajo amenaza. Frente a las fuerzas democráticas se alzan fuerzas que buscan dividirnos, debilitarnos y retroceder en los avances que con tanto esfuerzo hemos logrado. Y estas fuerzas están alimentadas por las agendas del odio, de las mentiras, de los recortes de libertades, como las que representa la internacional ultraderechista. Queremos seguir profundizando la relación estratégica con Estados Unidos y un vínculo transatlántico que nos une y en el que creemos. Estados Unidos es un aliado imprescindible para hacer frente a los retos del nuevo tiempo. Pero el regreso de Trump nos plantea desafíos evidentes y nuestra Unión no puede únicamente resignarse a reaccionar, sino que debe reafirmarse con más fuerza en lo que somos y en lo que defendemos. Nuestra Unión se basa en un conjunto de principios y valores que no están sujetos a cambios políticos como en otras partes del mundo. Trump es el síntoma del empobrecimiento de las clases medias que han visto cómo su poder adquisitivo se deteriora y cómo se le cierra el derecho a cuestiones básicas como es la vivienda. No olvidemos esta realidad, porque también en nuestro continente persiste y por eso debemos actuar con determinación para reforzar el pilar social, con salarios dignos, con ingresos mínimos que protejan a los más vulnerables y una inversión ambiciosa de al menos 50.000 millones de euros anuales en vivienda pública. Frente al negacionismo climático y la apuesta por los combustibles fósiles, que son una amenaza directa al planeta y a la vida humana, avancemos en la implementación del Pacto Verde. No solo porque es la única solución para combatir la crisis climática, sino porque es clave para nuestra independencia energética, para nuestra seguridad y para nuestra competitividad global. Frente a los ataques de los oligarcas digitales a las democracias, defendamos una transición digital al servicio de la ciudadanía y del progreso humano. Apliquemos con firmeza la Ley de Servicios Digitales, multando y restringiendo la actividad de estos oligarcas que no cumplan con la ley. La democracia no se negocia, la democracia se defiende. Frente al trato inhumano y las deportaciones masivas de inmigrantes, demostremos que la solidaridad y la humanidad son compatibles con una regulación ordenada de los flujos migratorios. Una política migratoria bien gestionada es la mejor garantía para mantener nuestro estado de bienestar único en el mundo y para preservar nuestros valores fundamentales. Y frente a las ansias expansionistas de algunos y frente a los anuncios de represalias arancelarias y sus amenazas a nuestra seguridad, reforcemos nuestros vínculos comerciales con nuestros aliados e impulsemos una industria de defensa europea autónoma. Frente a la situación en Ucrania y en Oriente Medio, hablemos con una sola voz y sin dobles raseros. No hay mejor manera de defender una paz justa en Ucrania que autorizando el uso de armas de largo alcance contra objetivos militares en territorio ruso. No hay mejor manera de garantizar una paz justa que destinando los 200.000 millones de activos congelados rusos a la reconstrucción y el armamento en Ucrania. Y no hay mejor manera de promover una paz justa y duradera en Oriente Medio que defendiendo la solución de los dos Estados ante los acuerdos de Abraham, que solo trajeron más odio y destrucción. Señorías, estamos conmemorando el centenario del nacimiento de Mario Soares, un hombre que dedicó su vida al proyecto europeo. Y las palabras que pronunció en el Colegio de Europa en 1977 hoy deben de ser nuestra guía. Como portugués y como europeo decía, confío en que la Europa que todos deseamos no aceptará ser un simple club de países ricos, sino una verdadera comunidad, ampliamente abierta al exterior y fundamentalmente solidaria entre las partes que, por mandato de la geografía o de la historia, necesariamente la componen. Recordemos esas palabras y hagamos nuestra guía para el trabajo que unidos tenemos por delante. Muchas gracias.
Thank you. Now I give the floor to the chair of the Patriots for Europe Group, Jordan Bardella. 1.5 minutes.
Merci Madame la Présidente de la Commission européenne, Monsieur le Président du Conseil. De l'Ukraine au Moyen-Orient, de la Moldavie à la Géorgie, en passant par le Venezuela, l'ordre du jour du dernier Conseil européen a été fourni et les sujets de préoccupation liés aux grands troubles de notre monde étaient nombreux. Il n'a pourtant pas été jugé bon d'évoquer la question brûlante de l'Algérie, malgré l'arrestation arbitraire et au motif politique de l'écrivain franco-algérien Boualem Sansal. Son tort, avoir critiqué dans ses ouvrages et dans ses prises de position le régime algérien, sa dérive autocratique et sa complaisance à l'égard de l'idéologie islamiste. Aux portes de l'Europe, un régime défie délibérément la France, entretient son peuple dans la misère et l'oppression, instrumentalise l'histoire pour faire oublier ses propres échecs depuis l'indépendance. Il mène une guerre commerciale contre les produits agricoles français au profit notamment du blé russe. Il refuse de récupérer ces indésirables, délinquants, islamistes que nous entendons et devons expulser afin de garantir la sécurité de nos peuples et de nos concitoyens. Sur un plan strictement national, la France doit assumer un bras de fer diplomatique, interrompre l'octroi de visas, remettre en cause le traité franco-algérien de 1968, mettre fin à l'aide au développement et geler les transferts de fonds privés à l'égard de ce pays et de ce régime tant que son attitude demeurera ouvertement hostile. L'Europe, quant à elle, ne peut rester les bras ballants face aux outrances d'un gouvernement algérien contre un État membre. L'accord de 2005 entre l'Union européenne et la République algérienne, que seule l'Union européenne respecte par ailleurs, doit être suspendu. Et sa renégociation, prévue en 2025, doit être abandonnée. 172 millions d'euros, c'est au bas mot ce que l'Algérie a perçu de la si généreuse Europe ces dernières années. Coupons ces versements que plus rien ne justifie. Cessons d'être les seuls à entretenir la rente de ceux qui en retour nous haïssent. Nous devons enfin nous faire respecter par un gouvernement qui, depuis longtemps, a dépassé les limites de l'indécence. Comment pourrions-nous, nous, l'Europe, prétendre rivaliser avec les grands de ce monde si nous faisons preuve de tant de faiblesse à l'égard de ceux qui rient de notre apathie?
Merci. Adesso do la parola al Presidente del Gruppo ECR, Nicola Procaccini, 2 minuti e 30.
Grazie Presidente, Presidente von der Leyen, Presidente Costa. Il Consiglio europeo ha affrontato diverse questioni decisive. Su una in particolare voglio concentrare il mio intervento. I governi europei stanno finalmente comprendendo l'urgenza di prendere misure concrete per combattere l'immigrazione illegale. La risposta più efficace, ormai è chiaro a tutti, diciamo quasi tutti, consiste nel fronteggiare il fenomeno all'esterno dei confini europei. Infatti servono accordi bilaterali con i paesi di provenienza dei migranti che vanno aiutati nella lotta al traffico di esseri umani. Senza atteggiamenti sterili o snob da parte delle istituzioni europee nei confronti di chi governa quegli Stati terzi. Soltanto così è possibile offrire ad una giusta e limitata quota di uomini e donne di poter contribuire allo sviluppo delle nostre nazioni, avendo loro un lavoro da svolgere, documenti in regola ed un mezzo sicuro per venire in Europa. Quanto tempo abbiamo perso dietro la cosiddetta ideologia no borders che ha gravemente influenzato questo Parlamento? Quante vite sono andate perse a causa della dottrina immigrazionista e quante città europee sono state sacrificate nel suo nome? Finalmente l'Unione Europea sta iniziando ad allinearsi sempre di più con l'idea di dover fermare le partenze, mentre contemporaneamente si lavora per creare opportunità legali di immigrazione secondo le diverse esigenze dei Paesi membri. È l'approccio pragmatico e di buonsenso del governo guidato da Giorgia Meloni, i cui numeri e il cui consenso sono sotto gli occhi di tutti. Ma è anche il destino geopolitico che l'Europa deve darsi, anziché piagnucolare per la ritrovata capacità degli Stati Uniti d'America di scuotersi dal torpore naif degli ultimi anni. Essere presente in Africa e in Asia con la propria politica, con le sue imprese produttive e commerciali, con le sue innovazioni, è la missione che l'Unione Europea deve darsi per dare un senso alla propria esistenza, piuttosto che consumarsi in chilometri di regolamenti di cui i cittadini europei francamente non sentono né la necessità né l'urgenza. Grazie.
Grazie. Now I give the floor to President of the Renew Europe Group, Valérie Hayet, 3 minutes.
Merci Madame la Présidente. Madame la Présidente, Monsieur le Président Costa, bienvenue dans cet hémicycle. Vous verrez qu'on y discute toujours en toute franchise. Vous verrez aussi que vous y trouverez de profonds alliés, parce qu'on sait que vous n'aurez pas la tâche facile dans les prochains mois pour mettre les États d'accord. Mais souvent, très souvent, vous aurez le Parlement européen à vos côtés pour pousser les États membres à davantage d'ambition. Notamment sur la question de la défense, vous l'avez évoqué, vous rassemblerez très bientôt les leaders autour de cette question. C'est une initiative très importante que je salue à l'heure où l'Europe peine à être audible dans ce nouveau contexte géopolitique devenu, on le sait, imprévisible. Il est temps de s'affirmer et d'avoir une voix unie sur les affaires du monde. Je voudrais d'abord vous parler d'Ukraine. Nord-coréens, Cubains, Ghanéens, Sri-Lankais, Indiens, Syriens, Népalais, Voilà quelques-unes des nationalités parmi les troupes russes aujourd'hui en Ukraine. La Russie fait le choix d'internationaliser son conflit barbare. Alors la priorité de mon groupe, Renew, c'est la victoire du peuple ukrainien. La victoire comme cheminement vers une paix juste et durable. Une paix qui doit être obtenue pour les Ukrainiens, avec les Ukrainiens et aux conditions des Ukrainiens. Monsieur le Président, continuons de soutenir l'Ukraine. Et je vous le demande, travaillez sur les sanctions. On a un vrai problème avec leur mise en œuvre. Elles sont encore contournées, il faut pourtant qu'elles s'appliquent pleinement. Contre les responsables de cette guerre, contre la flotte fantôme russe, contre les pays tiers complices de la Russie. Puis il y a le Moyen-Orient. Notre appel à la paix y a toujours été clair. Il est d'ailleurs toujours d'actualité. Parce que l'accord sur le cessez-le-feu et la libération des otages est indispensable. Mais les derniers jours nous l'ont montré. Cet accord, il est fragile. Le cessez-le-feu à Gaza doit être appliqué sans violation et il doit durer. Les otages, tous les otages, doivent être libérés. L'aide humanitaire doit être acheminée sans aucune entrave. Et à terme, nous savons que seule une solution à 2 États offrira une paix durable à la région. Une paix que les habitants partout appellent à corps et à cri. Je veux enfin avoir un mot pour le peuple géorgien. Là-bas, la démocratie est attaquée au grand jour par les soutiens de Poutine. À Tbilissi et ailleurs, les manifestants prennent les rues depuis des semaines, des mois après qu'on leur ait volé leur élection. Malgré les répressions chaque semaine un peu plus violentes, ils chantent notre hymne européen. Ils brandissent notre cercle étoilé. Et parmi eux, il y a Salomé Sourabichvili, au courage extraordinaire, à qui je veux rendre hommage ici. Nous n'oublions pas les Géorgiens, nous les entendons et nous resterons à leur côté. Je vous remercie.
Thank you very much. And now I give the floor to the co-president of the Green Group, Bas Eickhout, 3 minutes.
Thank you, Madam President, and good morning also to the President of the Commission, but especially, of course, very much welcome to you, Mr. Costa, and President of the Council. And we're very happy you're here. Indeed, as my colleague already said, it didn't happen that often that the Council presidency was president in the Parliament, and I do think it's good that you are showing that you are willing to open up this debate with the European Parliament, because there's a lot at stake. And the Council has a lot of challenges. If we look at the situation of Europe, to our east, we have a dictator that is willing to conquer, go into wars into countries like Ukraine. On our west, in the United States, we have a capitalistic autocrat. I can't mention it differently. You have to be more diplomatic, so I can say that. But also on our southern side, of course, in the Middle East, there's turmoil continuously. So we need a council that is stepping up, that is fighting for a strong Europe and replying to that. But there, let's be honest, the councils have become a bit obligatory. If you read the council conclusions, and I think less and less people read those council conclusions, and I just want to mention you one example. With all these challenges, EU in the world, and what do the council conclusions say? The European Council held a strategic discussion on the EU's global engagement and priorities in the current geopolitical context. That's it. That was it. It's great you had that discussion, but what does it mean? What does it mean? And also here, when the President is saying our values will not change, then I hope that you will also more challenge the leaders of Europe in these discussions, because our international credibility is at stake. If we are saying the rule of law is important, international law is important, but when there is a ruling from the International Criminal Court and there is an arrest warrant for Netanyahu, and some of our leaders are saying we're not going to follow that through, then we have a credibility problem. That should be discussed, and not only these lovely broad sentences. We also need more targeted councils, I think, and therefore I very much welcome your specific council on the 3rd of February on defense, because I do think these general councils discussing everything are not solving a lot. We need to have more focus and be challenging enough to each other, and therefore I'm happy that also the Commission will come forward with its competitiveness compass, and that also you already said in March you want to discuss that, because Draghi said this is an urgent matter and it needs to be addressed now, but he said that in September last year. So the urgency is maybe a bit relative here. And I know here Trump is of course changing the world, but I think we need to be more proactive and more trusting in each other, because Trump is shooting in his own foot as well. In his energy definitions, now even renewables are not defined as an energy source anymore. What will that do with all the investors that want to invest in renewables? It is a chance for Europe. And it's the same that he's pausing the IRA. So he is creating uncertainty in the United States. That is a chance for Europe, but then we need to step up. Then we need to talk about the investment gap. Then we need to talk about maybe not always the bureaucracy on reporting, but the bureaucracy in our state aid rules, access to finance. That's what we should be discussing, and not always get distracted by only the blah blah on red tape, but really look at what is hampering our industry. And therefore we also need more rules on lead markets, we need more energy cooperation, cross-border infrastructure. That's what we need, and that's also where we hopefully can be more concrete when we are expecting a clean industrial deal from the Commission and the Council to discuss that. We are ready, I hope the Council as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now the co-president of the Left Group, Manon Aubry, 2 minutes.
Merci Madame la Présidente, Monsieur le Président. Les armes se sont enfin tues à Gaza. L'entrée en vigueur du cessez-le-feu est un immense soulagement. Et sa préservation doit être au cœur des échanges du Conseil plutôt que la signature à tour de bras de nouveaux accords de libre-échange, Madame von der Leyen. Je pense aujourd'hui aux 2 millions de Gazaouis qui ont vécu depuis 18 mois dans la peur et la faim et voient enfin une lueur au bout du tunnel. Je pense aux centaines de milliers d'enfants dont le seul terrain de jeu était un champ de ruines et qui vont pouvoir retrouver quelques instants de répit et d'insouciance. Je pense aux otages israéliens et aux prisonniers palestiniens qui vont enfin retrouver leurs proches et la liberté. Mais l'espoir précaire qui se lève garde un goût amer, car trop de temps a été perdu. Au moins 46 000 civils ont déjà été massacrés sous les bombes israéliennes. Ces femmes, ces hommes, ces enfants ont été abandonnés par l'Union européenne, qui n'a pas seulement été impuissante, mais complice du martyre des Palestiniens. Madame von der Leyen, Monsieur Costa, combien de vies auraient pu être sauvées si les États européens n'avaient pas été si lâches, s'ils avaient cessé d'envoyer des armes à Benjamin Netanyahou, si l'Union européenne avait suspendu son accord d'association avec Israël. Madame von der Leyen, vous n'avez rien fait pour arrêter la guerre, mais vous pouvez encore agir pour établir la paix. Car si le massacre s'est provisoirement arrêté, le supplice des Palestiniens, lui, est loin d'être terminé. Ceux qui ont survécu se retrouvent sur un champ de ruines quand ils ne continuent pas d'être pris pour cible, comme cet enfant abattu par un missile israélien, ou encore les attaques du camp de Jenin en Cisjordanie. En 1 an et demi, tout un territoire a été rasé, sa population affamée et massacrée, l'aide humanitaire bloquée, les hôpitaux délibérément détruits par un gouvernement génocidaire d'extrême droite dont le chef est sous mandat d'arrêt de la Cour pénale internationale. Alors oui, l'Union européenne doit le dire clairement. Les criminels de guerre doivent être jugés. La colonisation illégale des territoires palestiniens doit cesser. Et enfin, un État palestinien souverain doit être créé. Madame von der Leyen, vous ne pouvez racheter votre inaction coupable pendant le génocide, mais vous avez le devoir, à minima, de tout faire pour protéger les survivants et offrir une promesse d'avenir aux enfants de Gaza. Alors aujourd'hui, pour conclure, je pense à ces mots du poète palestinien Mahmoud Mahoul. Je dois écouter les oiseaux. Et pour écouter les oiseaux, il faut que cesse le bruit des bombardiers, qu'il cesse à tout jamais, pour qu'enfin la Palestine retrouve sa liberté. Je vous remercie.
I give the floor now on behalf of the ESN Group, Alexander Jungbluth, 1.5 minutes. Just minutes.
Frau Präsidentin, Remigration, das brauchen Deutschland und Europa. Jetzt hat sogar der Europäische Rat alle Parteien in Syrien dazu aufgefordert, die, ich zitiere, freiwillige Rückkehr syrischer Flüchtlinge in Sicherheit und Würde zu gewährleisten. Endlich vernehmen wir vom Rat also eine sinnvolle Forderung. Die Machthaber in Syrien sollen die Heimkehrer ihrer Landsleute anstreben und wir als EU sollten sie dabei tatkräftig unterstützen. Statt aber endlich Maßnahmen zu starten, zeigen die Asylzahlen der vergangenen Jahre genau das Gegenteil. Über 1 Million Migranten sind im vergangenen Jahr unter dem Deckmantel Asyl in die EU eingewandert, 240.000 davon nach Deutschland.
Die deutschen Medien feiern das, weil es einen angeblichen Rückgang von 30% bedeutet. Wir als AfD sehen keinen Grund zu feiern, wenn jährlich eine Großstadt nach Deutschland einwandert mit Personen, die zum Großteil für unseren Arbeitsmarkt ungeeignet sind und lebenslang auf Transferleistungen angewiesen sein werden. Die Bürger in Europa und auch in Deutschland wollen keine Anschläge mehr von ausländischen Terroristen auf Weihnachtsmärkte, wie es in Magdeburg geschehen ist. Sie wollen keine Silvester mehr haben, in denen Migranten Städte auseinandernehmen. Sie wollen keine Gruppenvergewaltigungen mehr und sie wollen auch keine täglichen Messerangriffe mehr. Sie wollen nur noch eins: Remigration. Vielen Dank.
I give the floor now to Mr. Cunha. 1 minute.
Obrigado, Sra. Presidente. O acordo político fundador da estabilidade na liderança das instituições europeias tem por base 3 pilares inegociáveis: a consolidação do projeto europeu, o apoio inequívoco à Ucrânia e a defesa intransigente do Estado de Direito. A nova administração americana evidencia o quanto necessitamos de fortes laços transatlânticos com os Estados Unidos. Mais do que nunca, as dimensões da soberania e da autonomia estratégica da Europa são cruciais para garantir a sua independência e resiliência frente aos desafios globais. Queremos construir uma Europa que seja parceira e não esteja dependente de parceiros, capaz de construir entendimentos internos acerca da essencialidade de políticas como a redução dos preços da energia e o desbloquear do investimento em todo o mercado único enquanto alicerces do nosso crescimento económico. A habitação precisa de uma resposta digna ao fenómeno complexo em que se tornou, enquanto a crise demográfica ameaça o nosso crescimento como potência mundial. E esperamos que a nova liderança do Conselho Europeu seja um marco da construção da União Europeia coesa e forte, unida em torno dos seus propósitos e valores, e que o seu Presidente seja mobilizador das vontades e construtor de compromissos entre todos os governos da União Europeia. Muito obrigado.
Thank you. Next is Harald Wilimski. 1 minute.
Meine sehr geehrten Damen und Herren, man kann auf der Autobahn der geopolitischen Entwicklungen unterschiedlich unterwegs sein. Man kann zu schnell unterwegs sein, man kann zu langsam unterwegs sein, man kann auf der falschen Spur unterwegs sein. Aber das, was diese Europäische Union mit dieser Kommission macht, ist mit Hochgeschwindigkeit als Geisterfahrer der internationalen Entwicklungen sich zu betätigen. Und man braucht nur den Blick in Richtung USA lenken, wo sich zurzeit mit Donald Trump als neuen Präsident sehr viel Gutes ereignet. Ja. Und die Dinge, die mehrheitsfähig sind, zum Beispiel, dass all die Illegalen, die in den USA aufhältig sind, nun abgeschoben werden in ihre Heimat, während die Europäische Union zur selben Zeit Tür und Tor offen hält, um weitere Hunderttausende Illegale auf den Kontinent zu lassen. Weiteres Beispiel, WHO, die USA steigt aus der WHO. Gut so, aus diesem Bill-Gates-Verein auszuscheiden, der nur unrühmliche Rollen eingenommen hat in der ganzen Pandemiephase. Pariser Abkommen, die USA steigen aus. Das Pariser Abkommen, das zu einer Deindustrialisierungswelle geführt hat in ganz Europa. Gut so. Und daher meine ich, wenn die Europäische Union mehr vom Spirit eines Donald Trump oder dem Geist eines Viktor Orban hätte oder dem, was sich gerade in Österreich mit der FPÖ und Herbert Kickl manifestiert, dann wäre diese Europäische Union gut und richtig unterwegs. Danke sehr.
Next, Beata Szydło. 1 minute.
Pani Przewodnicząca, Szanowny Panie Przewodniczący, Szanowni Państwo Komisarze. Rzeczywiście od ostatniej Rady minął zaledwie miesiąc, a jesteśmy już w zupełnie innej rzeczywistości geopolitycznej. I czas też wyciągnąć wnioski z błędów, które zostały popełnione w poprzednich latach. Słuchając pani przewodniczącej von der Leyen, mam jednak wrażenie, że mimo iż mówi o tym, iż trzeba wziąć pod uwagę chociażby uwagi pana Draghiego, trzeba wzmocnić konkurencyjność gospodarki europejskiej, to nadal pokazuje ten sam kierunek, który niestety doprowadził do tego, że ta gospodarka jest mniej konkurencyjna i że Europa ma ogromne problemy i kryzysy. I to wszystko rozpoczęło się od momentu, kiedy został na siłę przeforsowany i cały czas w tą stronę idziemy Zielony Ład. Pani Przewodnicząca mówi o tym, że trzeba odchodzić od paliw kopalnych. Trzeba wzmacniać energetykę. Pełna zgoda. Tylko pytanie jest takie, dlaczego Niemcy uruchomili wszystkie swoje elektrownie węglowe? Dlaczego chcą kupić nowe złoża węgla na przykład w Polsce? Pani przewodnicząca mówi o umowie Mercosur. Dzisiaj przed Parlamentem Europejskim tutaj będą strajkować europejscy rolnicy. Oni nie są z tej umowy zadowoleni. Mam nadzieję, jako były polski premier, że polska prezydencja, która rozpoczęła swoją pracę w Unii Europejskiej, będzie tym momentem i tą prezydencją, która doprowadzi do tego, że Europa rzeczywiście i Unia Europejska zmieni ten zły kierunek i wreszcie się przebudzi. Dziękuję bardzo.
Thank you. I give the floor now to Carlo Ressler. 1 minute.
Poštovani predsjedniče vijeća, predsjednice parlamenta, povjerenice, oči svijeta ovog tjedna razumljivo usmjerene su utak. Signali koje vidimo moraju nas u potpunosti osvijestiti. Ako se ne trgnemo, Europa će nastaviti tonuti u labirintu vlastite rastuće birokracije. Geopolitička utakmica postaje sve oštrija. Europska sigurnosna, energetska, vanjska i migracijska politika zbog toga traži dodatnu ozbiljnost i dodatnu odgovornost. Nova stvarnost traži strateški pristup, odlučnije djelovanje diljem svijeta, ali još više odvažnosti i ovdje, doma. To prije svega znači smanjenje birokratskog tereta, pametnija i veća ulaganja u obranu, ali također spremnost za hibridne ugroze. Pred nama mora biti godina jasnog odmaka od business as usual pristupa, jasna godina odmaka od prethodnih pogrešaka, ali također jasna i snažna godina odvažnih politika koje će dovesti do konkurentnije, sigurnije i snažnije Europske unije. Hvala.
Thank you.